All right, guys. So I've largely got the cabinets completed that are going to be going into the van. I'm going to try to get these installed today and put this on this video. We'll see if that happens. But Walnut countertops, if you guys watch my live, you guys saw me finishing those. And these cabinets are kind of made from a couple different materials. I'll go over construction in a second, but they are cedar. The front of them is cedar clad. That's for cosmetics. I think it looks nice. The finish I'm using on here is just your basic wipe-on poly. You can get this at any big box store. I tried this out. I used this years and years ago. For whatever reason, I wasn't too happy with it, but I tried it out again, and I'm actually pretty happy. This is a warm satin. This is just a personal preference on my part. I used to use a lot of like glossy finishes, but I think as I've just kind of developed a more of a preference toward like satin finishes. So, real minor gloss. Excuse me, sorry. But it's more satin. And I use that same finish on the cedar, and I like how it turned out. It brought out the reds and everything. One thing that happens a lot of times with softwoods is if you use an oil-based poly, which that is, it can kind of yellow them. And this might have yellowed them a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with how they look. But let me show you in the van where these are going to go. And then I'm going to lift one up on the bench here and kind of show you how I built it. All right, so you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen, or if you have not, you can go back, check out a prior video, but here's the bed platform. And both these cabinets, are going to go over here. This is the driver's side, on the driver's side. So that taller, longer cabinet will actually fit back up in there. You see these little hooks down here. I'm actually going to use these little or little U-bolts there to loop around those white hooks in the floor, which are fixed points, and into the cabinet. So that will help lock it down. And this track right here, which would have been for that second row seat, I'm also going to use a U-bolt there, which will lock into the cabinet. I'm going to play it by ear, but I might also attach them to the bed too, if they need to be, if they're not as solid as I like. And the other cabinet will sit right here in front of this door. Porta potty will sit on one side, little cubby for storage, and then the back side, which will be only accessible when you open up the door, will have the water tank and drainage for the sink. So let's go take a one of the cabinets, and I'll show you how I built them. All right. So like I've talked about many times in the past, there's many ways to do a lot of things, and so this is just the way I built this cabinet, but there's many other ways it could be done. What I use is 1/2-inch plywood on the sides, on the two sides. Cut pieces of hardwood. This is just like 1 by 1. Connected each side part of this. And then essentially that kind of left me a box. So you'd have to keep in mind that this front would be open. Then I just, did my standard lap joints here on the cedar, attached them on the front, cut the hole for the little cubby here, rounded it off. The bottom of this, I just took little strips of wood there, put this bottom, this is just 1/4-inch plywood, and even this side wall here is 1/4-inch plywood. Cut out a little recess here for what will be the sink, which will mount in the top of this. And, in a nutshell, that was pretty easy, pretty simple. So it uses 1/2-inch plywood, hardwood, some hardwood pieces, smaller pieces for structural support, some 1/4-inch plywood, and then the cedar on the front. As you guys saw, I always have a horrible time with this. Sometimes you get a little bit of chip out when you're cutting the plywood, or at least I do. I've seen some tricks, like people use the painter's tape and stuff like that. I probably should be a little more diligent about that. These outside surfaces, though, these are not going to be cosmetics. So to be honest with you, for better or worse, I don't really worry about it too much. I mostly focus on cosmetic surfaces. This will have some trim on it and stuff. It'll look a little nicer, I think, when it's all wrapped up and mounted and installed. But in a nutshell, this cabinet down here is built in a very similar way. All these little cutouts and stuff, I don't even know how to describe to do them. Like this one conforms around that side sliding door when it shuts. That kind of conforms around some body work. It's just kind of one of those things that you just gotta, some stuff I made templates for in cardboard, some stuff I just kind of, a little trial and error of cutting it and getting it to fit. Now the countertops, or the cabinet tops, whatever you want to call them, this is just laminated walnut. This is finished with that same finish. I will mount these after I get it installed, because there's a lot of real specific finagling as far as getting everything to line up here. One other thing I did here is, let's come over here and take a look here. So I mounted in these little L brackets here. These are screwed into the hardwood. That's one of the reasons I use these hardwood cross beams here. And you see that has a elongated hole there. When you mount a solid wood top, because this wood will expand and contract just a little bit along perpendicular to the grain direction there, you want to have a way that can move so it doesn't tear the cabinet or the countertop apart. So these little brackets with those elongated holes, I'll screw them in, and then that'll allow a little bit of movement. Now, times in the past, what I've done, like, so for example, I did on my trailer there, when I put in the countertops, I'd actually just run a bead of caulking around it, sit the countertop on, weigh it down with something, let it sit for about 24 hours. And that method actually works out well too. And that, in my experience, has allowed for enough expansion and contraction. I use these on this one because it's a little hard to explain, but it just may not be as suitable for me to weigh them down and let them sit, because locking those tops in place might actually help lock in the cabinet. So I might still do the caulking if I feel like I need to, but for the most part, I'll probably just rely upon those. So let's go get it installed. All right, so I got the cabinets in there. Of course, the tops are not on yet. The way that these are mounted is just in 3 positions with those hard points I was telling you about and those U-bolts. So there's one down there, there's one down there, and then on the inside of here, down there in that lower, let me zoom in there, right down there on that lower thing. And that's just using one of the trolleys that would have been there for that second row seat. And man, this thing is sturdier than I thought. And then basically what I did is I made it in 2 pieces, and that was on purpose because that would allow me to remove this. Keep in mind that my whole goal with this van is I don't want to modify anything on the internals that wouldn't allow it to go back to its original shape or condition with the seats there. So I'm really surprised how stable this is. I mean, this is solid enough just as it sits. Obviously I've got, I want to put a piece of trim here. I just screwed this cabinet and this cabinet together. Now there will be some sort of decorative fascia across here. I think I'm going to put like some USB ports or something. But I just used some panhead screws, just 6 of them total, 2 top, 2 in the middle, 2 at the bottom. And this thing is solid. Now, as far as the curves I was talking about, it's not perfect, but you could see, for example, there, over here on the door side, it's a little hard to see, but I had to relieve it there for that part of the door, because this door can still open with the cabinet in there. like that. So next we will put on the countertops. All right, so now we got the countertops on and it's starting to look pretty good. So once I got the countertops on and I got all those U-hooks bolted, I mean, this thing is rock solid. I didn't know how sturdy it would be in here. You know, I've got some cosmetic stuff. I'm gonna put a piece of trim, and I was gonna space it off and actually temporarily screw it to the bed platform, but it could be removed if this were transported. And I'll probably still do that, but I mean, this is sturdy enough just as it is. I'm very impressed. So down here, like I showed you guys, you got the U-bolts tightened. Don't over tighten them. As far as how the countertop is attached, so there's those L brackets, and you can see the way the slot is, it's forward and back, so that way if the grain, if it's going to expand and contract, it's going to do so in this direction. So theoretically that should allow it to move. So I've got 4 of those per each of those, but yeah, I mean, you could see you know how it lines up, and I'm very, very happy. Now, one thing I didn't talk about, let me take around and show you guys around the back here, is so what I did is, you know, these floors in these minivans are not perfectly level. So if we kind of look up underneath here, this will give us a good indicator. So you can see that white hook up in there. Let me go close this in a little bit. There you go. And so what I did with the cabinets is I basically just made them a rectangle, and then I dry fitted them a bunch of times, and you could see up there the pieces of plywood that are bolted on the bottom. I spaced those so that it would kind of help level out the cabinet, because there are like little dips and spots like that. It's a little time consuming. It's not really one of those things I could say, okay, put a block here, put a block there. It all depends on your application. But I guess my point is what I found is just don't try to build your cabinets in an odd shape, so to speak. To some extent you have to, because like, say for example, this wall here, actually in this case kind of curves out, so you guys could see this is narrow at the bottom and wider at the top. But the overall lengthwise profile of the cabinet is just a rectangle. And then I went through and put those little spacers in the bottom. You know, in my particular application is I put some spacers down on this side, and then on the inside of here, you can't see them, but at the bottom of this section down in here, there's a little spacer. And then even like over here, you know, I put like a little spacer where it straddles the trolley rail there. And, you know, again, that's just kind of one of those things that whatever your application was, I would just build the cabinet rectangle, dry fit it. It took some time. It took me, you know, a couple hours of putting them in there, you know, adjusting it, taking it back out. Those little spacers, I would just brad nail them in. That way, if I needed to remove them, because, you know, there was a lot of times where I would like, okay, 1/2 inch, and then, you know, maybe it's a 3/4 and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, all that work was worth it, because in the end, I mean, this thing has exceeded my expectations, and it's pretty square. I mean, the van in here, it's not as like straight across as you would expect. So, you know, for example, straight across on that door creates a scenario to where like that back window is kind of narrower at the bottom, so it's really hard to get everything lined up. But I'm happy with this. This to the eye looks really good. But yeah, it's coming along, guys. All right, and there it is staged. Now I have a lot of work left. I mean, I'm not permanently putting this stuff in there, but you know, see the porta potty will slide underneath there. It's a perfect fit. I'm gonna put a little door over that, similar to what I did in my trailer build. You guys will see. Real simple system. And I like these set power fridges. This one is, I forgot the model name, but I really like how they're narrow and tall. And that was intended. It fits perfect right there behind the seat. Like I've talked about many times, and really the genesis of this build is, you know, my back gives me lots of problems. So I lean the seat way back, and that helps take that pressure off the lower back. So when I built the cabinet, I just went straight up. I left myself just a little bit of room to move it around if I needed to. But that little angle there, that little triangle created, is perfect for that fridge just to slide in there. And I might do something to secure it, but I think for the most part, it's just going to kind of stay on its own. But I like that. And again, lots of work left in here. I got to put little trim up and stuff like that. You guys saw in the picture, folded out the bed. That fits. All that works out well. So I'm liking it. I think it looks real nice. It's got a real nice smell in here now. And all right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Let me know what you think.